Yes, Nurse Crane? How can I help you?
I'm so sorry. I know Dr. Swansea wanted you to rest, but we have somewhat of a crisis.
A crisis, you say?
Our supply of antiseptics is nearly depleted. I was hoping there was another box up here, but...
Sorry. There's nothing here.
Some of the patients won't last the night without them. Honestly, sir, I'm beside myself.
I may have a solution. In France, during the war, drugs shortage was a daily problem, and we had to use our wits to overcome the shortages.
However do you mean?
If combined correctly, certain household chemical products can be used in a pinch instead. Now, where's the hospital storeroom?
The storeroom? Fat chance. This is the Pembroke, and space is luxury we don't have. Everything used to be stored in the old morgue.
Perhaps I should look there first. Where is this morgue?
It's the large building behind the hospital. You'll need to go in the back door because it's been sealed off for sanitary reasons. Take this key. It opens a small back entrance at the end of a narrow street.
The abandoned morgue behind the hospital. A small door at the end of a narrow street. On my way then. Thank you, nurse. Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate. Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed.
Always a pleasure to meet a colleague, sir. Especially when he was supposedly dead.
A colleague? Are you a doctor too?
Not anymore, sir. I used to be Dr. Rakesh Chadana. Now, I'm just Mr. Chadana. Pawnbroker and humble guardian of this morgue.
What do you mean, you used to be a doctor? Was your license revoked?
No, sir. It is just that I like to be precise. I run a little pawn shop while taking care of the dead. But I used to be a real doctor.
Please show me what you have to sell.
Of course. It's just trinkets and curios, really. But I'm sure they can be useful. Good evening, Dr. Reed. Such a pleasure to see you again.
Are you afraid or uneasy being surrounded by so many corpses?
Why should I? These bodies are empty vessels. Flesh left to decay. Poof! No soul anymore. All gone.
How did you get this job?
After I left the army, I worked as an undertaker down by the docks. A dangerous place with many an unpleasant business there. Milton Hooks helped me get a job here.
An interesting point of view. And quite an exotic one, too. Most people fear, or at least have a respect, for dead flesh.
Sir, as a medic during the war, I learned to face my death and the death of others. It's the pain we have to tame, not death itself.
Do you work here alone?
Yes, very easy work, sir. All I have to do is watch a few bodies. The situation was very different when the main morgue was still open.
Why do you have to watch these bodies?
Because these poor fellows have no names. We keep them in case someone comes looking for the missing. Sadly, very rarely happens.
Why close the hospital's main morgue?
It was for sanitary reasons after the beginning of the epidemic. Cadavers had to be moved to the nearest mass grave.
Have we met before?
I don't think so, sir. Why?
When we first talked, you said you were glad to meet me since I was reported dead.
Funny story, sir. Your sister came here a few nights ago. You were missing, and she was looking for your body. She must be very relieved now.
A pawnbroker? I expect you get all types of people here.
Yes, sir. All kind of people. For I sell all kind of goods.
Who comes here to trade with you? It's very unhygienic, even unsafe. Diseases can spread. For the customers, for the hospital.
I'm very cautious, sir. I've been a doctor, remember? And all my clients are good people. In fact, I think I only know good people.
What kind of goods?
With the quarantine, it's not always easy to buy things. So I trade, I exchange. Some people sell, some others buy. I like to help.
Since you're not afraid of dying, do you believe in life after death, Rakesh?
No, I believe we must do all the good we can while alive. For our time is short, and the obstacles are endless.
Do you think you would enjoy immortality as a concept?
I don't think so. Don't mistake me. I love life, and I'd like to live a long life. But everything has to decay, sir. Even goodwill.
Do you really believe goodwill cannot last?
As I said, sir, everything decays. If I was to never die, goodness, I would be bored or worse. And I like to be helpful, sir.
Quite depressing, wouldn't you say?
Yes, but the good news is we'll all die before losing our humanity, sir.
So you're ready to die?
No, I am not. I don't fear death, for I won't see it. What troubles me is the pain my death will inflict to those I know.
You're a wise man, Mr. Chidana.
No, Dr. Reed, I am a foolish man. But I like to think otherwise.
Goodbye, Mr. Chidana.
Tomorrow, bodies will arrive and then sadly depart. I'm managing a train terminal.
Scowl voices in the garden. I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well.
off this time.
This is no time for self-pity. It is the last thing our patients need.
I feel sick. Get over here now.
Good evening, Mr. Cox.
Dr. Reed. Still working at night, I see. I like that.
And why is that?
People who don't sleep at night always seem more alive to me. More interesting, one way or another.
How is your hospitalization going, Mr. Cox?
This is a shitty place with shitty staff. But as long as I'm treated all right, I'll be fine.
What's wrong with the hospital?
Come on, Dr. Reed. The place is a dump. Smelly, sad, and dirty.
But you're alive thanks to the efforts and dedication of the staff here, aren't you?
What are you expecting, a medal? I thought that saving lives was just part of the job. Must be an unsatisfactory profession at this time, I'm sure.
What's wrong with the Pembroke staff?
That bastard you sent to bring me here, Milton. I thought he was going to break all my bones before I reached my bed.
I see. Any other smart comments?
The nurses aren't too ugly. Especially that foxy one, Nurse Crane. Pretty brunette, tough attitude, all like that.
Do you ever think about that poor fellow I saw you push in the water?
The wound he gave me will make sure I don't forget him. Still fucking hurts. Boss had cut me good.
What did he want? Revenge?
I recently had to kill his brother. Poor arsehole thought it would be easy to return the favour.
Only the strongest survive, then? Survival at all costs. Is that all you think about?
I'm the toughest bastard you'll ever meet, Dr. Reed. And I don't give a fuck what you think of me.
That man was determined to murder you. You almost died.
What a surprise. The first time I met him, he nearly shit himself. Fucking coward. I guess revenge gives you balls.
How long do you think you can escape the law, Clay?
I know this city like the back of my hand, Doc. I know its streets, who to pay, who to avoid, and who to bully. I won't get caught.
We can't escape the consequences of our actions. The past catches up with us in the end.
I ain't afraid of death. I don't hide who I am. I live my life honestly, which is more than I can say for most folks.
And who are you, then?
I'm the leader of the Wet Boot Boys. One day, I'll leave this shitty place and punch in the face all who thought I would not come back.
Am I right to assume your wife's letter pissed you off, Clay?
I was so mad, I threw away the knife she got me when we got married.
Your wife gave you a knife as a wedding present.
That knife has always been my lucky charm. If I'd had it in my hand when I got stabbed on that pier, I'd not have been wounded.
A lucky charm? I never would have taken you as the superstitious type.
We all have our flaws, Doc. Mine's to have my weapon of choice for when the really dirty business comes around.
Do you want it back?
I don't need it here, but if you'd be kind enough to bring it to me, I'd be really grateful.
A grateful Clay Cox? I might just find your knife and bring it back to you to see that happen.
I can give you directions, but I'll be surprised if you manage to find it. My hideout isn't meant to be found easily.
What can you tell me about your marriage, Clay?
Marriage is the sweetest cage, they say. Well, I found myself locked in one with a wild animal.
You mean your wife keeps you on your toes?
No, I mean, we both have claws and we both love to bite.
I'll leave you for now, Mr. Cox.
Is this supposed to be an hospital? A pigsty would smell better.
Good evening, Nurse Brown.
Good evening.
Goodbye, Nurse. Call me if you need assistance. Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Tell me why you're extorting money from some of the patients here.
If a patient wants a bed, he'll have to pay me a little fee. That's all.
Where did you get the idea for such an immoral scam?
Funny you should ask. The first time it was from a patient who bribed me to get a bed. It's only then I realized I could make a fortune.
I have some good news, Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet with all the money and a certain picture.
Well, yeah, Pippa Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin color that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
What's going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired. Tired of all this shit. Tired of all those corpses piling up. She's as depressed as I am.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It can be very damaging.
Maybe you're right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running? There's nothing wrong with what we're doing.
Admit it. Nurse Hawkins is more than your lover. She's also your partner in crime.
Of course she is. How else could I tell which bed is free? I need to know that.
Have you no shame?
Don't you see this city is crumbling down? Today, people are ready to pay to get a hospital bed. Tomorrow, we may be fighting for food.
Goodbye, Milton.
At least that mistress of the dark has stopped following me.
Yes, Doctor?
Exactly how bad is the supply situation here at Pembroke?
It really depends. Dr. Swansea deftly works his society contacts for monies. But with the quarantine, well, we're in God's hands.
Please, could you point me in the direction of the morgue again?
It's the large boarded-up building behind the hospital. You can't miss it. The key I gave you will open the small back door to it.
Why then do you always work the nights? Don't you ever sleep?
At the Pembroke, we're always hands on deck.
Your dedication to the Pembroke does you credit, Nurse Crane, but when do you sleep?
We staff get our sleep when we can, Doctor. Nursing is a vocation, not the labor of a journeyman.
Lack of sleep and the medical profession always ends in disaster. I've witnessed many a colleague succumb to stimulants to fight exhaustion. Drugs were as deadly as bullets in the trenches.
London's trenches start here at Pembroke Hospital. We are on the front line, make no mistake.
That's all for now, Nurse Crane, thank you. Good evening, Miss Howcroft. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr. Elwood? Why him?
I'm not sure, Doctor. I think we have a bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that cruel, Doctor.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Time has lost its effect on me, but the suffering continues.
Good evening, Mr. Elwood.
Evening, Dr. Reed.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Pure disgust on every street corner. The daily routine.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Pippa, I know you're very close to Milton Hooks.
Yes? Milton Hooks is my man. If you want to report me for that, just feel free, Doctor.
I have no intention of reporting you, Nurse Hawkins, but are you aware of the risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse anymore. But here at the Pembroke, we break rules all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Hey, I'm no perfect woman, and Milton is not the finest bloke, but we do our best to get by. That's all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Milton cheats patients out of their money at this hospital, Pippa. Are you his accomplice?
Yes, I am.
Is this your definition of being useful? By abusing the sick and poor?
No. It is my definition of getting out of this useless life once and for all.
Whose idea was it?
What difference does it make? We did it together, and I'm guilty as charged.
Answer my question.
It was my idea first, even though Milton would say it was his, to protect me.
Why do you do it?
Why not? Most of the sick who paid for a bed are already dead, or will be soon. Don't you see the futility of all this?
In your position, I would suggest a more elaborate defense. Cynicism will not save you.
This isn't cynicism, it's realism. You still need me, Dr. Reed. And you know it.
Whose idea?
What difference?
Answer my...
It was my... Why not?
In your...
This isn't cynical.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
This hospital seems to be falling apart. But in the circumstances
Balls of Mars. Fortifiers. As popular as they are ineffective. But they do contain iron tartrate, and that might prove itself useful. Behavior Bishop. Must be the same strain. This sickness moves faster than influenza. This key will surely grant me access to the basement. These scowls feed from corpses and the husks of animals. They're not after blood.
It's locked, all right. It's locked, all right. Mr. Connor's injuries don't match the report. I'd better look into this. Traces of a pinkish foam at the corner of the lips. Some sort of drug overdose, perhaps? Multiple abrasions and scarring on the arms and legs. Old and distinctive injuries of a sailor or a fisherman. The chest was originally opened to perform the operation. The sutures are clean, but the chest has been reopened. A puncture over the left lung, possibly a chest tube insertion. Not the cleanest work, but I think it was successful. Signs of internal bleeding. So, Dr. Tippett's anesthetics were incorrectly dosed, causing the patient's death. And then he tried to operate on him again. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's time we talked. Tippett has made an egregious error. It's locked.
Thralls can be so ferocious. I'm not sure I can defeat them without becoming stronger. To drink blood is so tempting. Sodium hypochlorite. Dangerous to administer, but efficient in the proper dosage. Tippett has made an egregious... It's locked, all right.
You always knew the words to calm the children.
Good evening, sir.
Finally, you've returned, Doctor. Did you find anything of value?
Yes, nurse.
You've worked your first miracle, Doctor. Now, this patient here needs immediate treatment.
Duty calls. When the storm has passed, I'll show you how to mix the remedy yourself with the same basic ingredients.
Many thanks, Doctor. When you've finished, you ought to report to Dr. Swansea in his office. He's been looking for you. Seemed pressing.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
You are not a burden, sir. Healing you is my responsibility.
And you have my gratitude for that.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'm sure you would...
Not really.
I see.
Yes, maybe.
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
How painful.
So...
I have to go now, sir. But don't hesitate to contact me if you need any help.
Good evening, sir. Doctor.
Good evening, Doctor. How is my son doing?
Goodbye.
Reads me like a book.
but
You
in the
always knew the words
circumstances,
to
I
calm the
wish
children,
to
Ellen. As for me,
Good evening, Dr. Tippett.
Dr. Reed, any good news to share?
Corcoran, I want you to tell me about Mr. Connor. How did he die? What happened?
He was my patient. He died because of my mistake. That's the blunt truth.
What was the nature of the mistake?
It was a twofold error. My diagnosis was wrong, and the administered dosage was too strong.
Who was this patient?
I don't know. Some sick man from the docks, maybe a fisherman. I had no time to talk with him. No one claimed a body.
Why not stop practicing?
Are you mad? I killed that man, I admit it, and it won't happen again. I have saved so many lives since then.
Goodbye, Dr. Tippett.
Please, Jonathan, come in. Fascinating, is it not? In the last decade, so many mysteries have been brought to light with our microscopes. The human body, biology's penultimate frontier. The more we explore its boundaries, the less we're able to trace a clear line between life and death. You, my friend, have a foot in both countries. The view must be vertiginous.
It's at least as vertiginous as chatting about vampires with you, I would say.
This must be all so new to you. This area of town, the hospital, a brand new life. How stimulating it must be.
I wish I could share your enthusiasm, Dr. Swansea, but my condition defies scientific categorization. Undead? Unalive? Immortality defies logic.
I cannot express my thrill at this serendipitous turn of events. The world's most eminent specialist in blood transfusions, a vampire. One might say a gift from heaven.
It may seem strange, but your words have brought me some comfort here.
Forgive me. I've been an admirer of your work for a long time, and now you are so much more than a brilliant physician. And please, call me Edgar.
There is no need to apologize, Edgar. You offered me sanctuary when I had none.
Very well. I have a task for you, Jonathan. Something that will require all your newfound skills.
Please, go on.
The Pembroke only survives through the generosity of our benefactors. Unfortunately, our main donor has found herself in a bit of a bind. Now, if you could help her out...
A spokesman or politician is what you need. That's not my calling. And until I come to understand what has happened to me, I require discretion.
Discretion is in order, Jonathan. Lady Ashbury has recently received rather indelicate correspondence that, if revealed, would jeopardize her position.
And you would like me to eradicate this threat?
By the stole, of course not. I would just like you to pay her a visit. Her ladyship is certainly near the tents outside, tending the sick. You can't miss her. Look for someone impossibly delicate.
Accepted. I'll see what kind of trouble Lady Ashbury is in.
Do you need something, Jonathan?
I have just a few questions.
Then ask away. I'm at your service, Doctor.
You mentioned something about a secret society. A brotherhood, if I recall. Could you elaborate?
Certainly. I've been a member of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole for several years. We are pledged to monitor and report vampire activity in England as impartial scientific observers.
That explains your nightly wanderings about the docks and the questions you ask.
I feel it wasn't mere coincidence that led us to that part of town. There was something as yet unseen that set those chain of events in motion.
Yet you don't fear me. And still, you know the monster that lurks beneath the civilized surface.
The Brotherhood has studied your kind for centuries. We believe you are as supernatural as a lion is to a gazelle.
Since you seem quite the expert on vampires, what could you tell me about my condition and how it came about?
As men of science, our first step is always to start with what we know. Forget the myths, the hackneyed scrawlings in the penny dreadfuls. They do not scratch the surface of the truth you now find yourself in.
The sun. The morning following my transformation. Its rays burned me. There was pain, smoke, and my skin blackened.
You will find there is very little that can kill a vampire, my friend. You have been offered relative immortality. The sun will most certainly hurt you, leaving you weakened and damaged, but it will not destroy you.
Must I take a life to live?
You are a vampire. You feed, and blood is the sole sustenance that can sustain your immortal frame. And only a living creature contains the nourishment you require.
Since I'm the one working for you, what should I know about Pembroke Hospital?
Well, for many years, we have been the only medical facility in this part of town that people can rely on. We support the community here, as well as provide health care.
Where do we stand today?
Oh, to be honest, we cope on a day-to-day basis. The first wave of the Spanish flu last summer took us by surprise. We lack many of the basic necessities needed.
What do you expect of me?
What we need is hope. You were a soldier. This is a war. This white coat's still a uniform. We fight to help the poor, the sick of the East End, the forgotten.
The man we pursued and slew in the canning factory, William Bishop, I believe, was he a vampire?
He was a Scarl, technically speaking. The debate rages as to their classification. Some think them a subspecies of vampire, others something else.
How do Scowls come into existence?
The name means slave. The etymology may indicate that they are a lesser species of vampire. From what I know, vampires tend to despise them.
Just for clarity, what differences are there between myself and a Scowl?
A Scowl is easier to eliminate, Jonathan, even if they remain formidable foes for the unprepared. Vampires exist beyond the mortal realm.
We'll see each other again soon, Edgar.
A giant morgue disguised as a hospital. That's Pembroke nowadays.
Daily routine.
Time has lost its effect on me, but the suffering continues.
I'm quite busy right now, Dr. Reed.
Have you heard about any blackmail going on in this hospital?
Blackmail? Nonsense.
Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Good evening, Dr. Strickland.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed. Can I be of any help?
Tell me, Thoreau, what's the real cause of your dislike for Dr. Ackroyd?
He refuses to admit that your blood transfusion technique is the only way to save Mr. Fiddick. I'm convinced we must use it.
What Dr. Ackroyd really said is that you lack the skill to perform this operation efficiently. Is there anything you have to say about this?
It's a false conceit. Dr. Ackroyd secretly envies your reputation. His jealousy blinds him. I'm not the real target here.
Have you heard any talk of blackmail going on in the hospital?
If you're running some official inquiry, you had better question the patients. They know more than the staff, especially old Miss Jones.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
Dr. Reed, may I help you?
Well, Dr. Swansea certainly has confidence in your abilities. Are you in charge of the nursing staff?
Not in an official capacity, but the Pembroke doesn't always work above board, so to speak.
What about medical protocols?
Dr. Reed, we don't have the money and resources here at the Pembroke like they do in the West End. We do what we can.
How is the duty roster organized?
Everybody works until they can't. If there's time, they'll eat a meal and shed a silent tear.
For how long have you been working here, Nurse Crane?
I first volunteered at the Pembroke in 1911, a few months after Dr. Swansea was appointed.
And before you arrived here?
If you must know, this was my first job.
What can you tell me about the epidemic, Nurse Crane? I've been out of touch since I've come back to England.
Everyday folk don't know how bad it is. The papers certainly won't tell them. Not as long as the war is raging on, anyway.
News on the front stated that the Spanish flu was under control, at least in Britain.
It seemed to be for a while, but that was only last summer. It returned with a vengeance just over a month ago.
What can you tell me about our patients here at Pembroke?
This hospital was founded to help the East End poor and needy. But since the war and the quarantine, we've had all manner of folk.
Can you be more specific?
Well, veterans, the elderly, dock workers. We even have a few mental patients. If there's space, we take them.
I'll see you later, Nurse Crane.
You always knew the words to calm the children, Ellen. As for me...
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Have you heard talk of any blackmail here at the hospital?
No. Nothing.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
I will not let you down, my boy.
You are going to reveal all your secrets.
I cannot enter.
My blood and soul. They belong to you now.
The life running in your veins is dead.
Another night with the glorious battalion of Pembroke.
The flu took my dear wife, Emily. I take comfort knowing we'll soon be together again.
Mr. Rainfield, that's no way to talk. You're in good hands here, and we'll be up again soon enough. Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet Lady of Mercy.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised. Dr. Swansea has brought me up to speed concerning your recent appointment to Pembroke Hospital.
You're a the lady who saved me that night, before vanishing into thin air. I remember you from the pub with Dr. Swansea.
Indeed. Allow me to introduce myself formally this time. My name is Lady Ashbury. I remember you well, in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise. I'm very happy to see you.
The pleasure is mine, Doctor.
I hope you're more disposed to answer my questions now.
You must have countless questions, but our rather urgent matter first. Swansea has explained. My cover, if you prefer, has been compromised.
Have any of the patients given you trouble?
These poor souls have so little left to live for. I do my best to ease their pain.
The world would be a better place if it were cared for by women like you.
You make me blush. I am simply a necessary evil.
Pardon my boldness, Your Ladyship, but I have questions concerning this condition we share.
As a newborn, your hunger for answers is rivaled only by your thirst for blood. But the questions need wait.
I'm a scientist. My trade is in the deciphering of mysteries, and I need information to feed my mind.
I will gladly answer every question you have, but first, prove yourself capable of resolving my predicament without eating the culprit.
Dr. Swansea has commissioned me to be your agent in this matter. You could start by explaining what's amiss.
These past insufferable weeks, I've been the victim of extortion. I've made a first payment, but the blackmailer grows greedy. I must refuse his most recent demands.
What are your expectations? Please be precise.
As the newly appointed surgeon of this hospital, you are in an excellent position to ask innocent questions and deftly learn the identity of my blackmailer.
Who would be so foolish as to threaten you? A kindred spirit.
Even if it were the case, and I highly doubt it, a vampire would have asked for something more valuable than money. My suspicions lean toward a patient or their family.
If we're dealing with an ordinary criminal, surely you've the means to deal with it yourself, if I may.
As immortal tradition doth dictate, all fangs and hypnotic eyes ablaze, the blood would run like a river. That's what I hope to avoid. Violence has a tendency to spiral out of control.
Please continue. Every detail is essential. I'm your man.
My embarrassment in this matter is eclipsed only by my shame at having put the hospital at risk. The threat from our anonymous scoundrel is clear. A list of dates. My visits coinciding with the dates of suspicious patient deaths due to massive blood loss.
Is it true?
Now aren't you the blunt one?
Excuse my impertinence, Your Ladyship. This is not an interrogation. I assure you that this line of questioning is in your best interest.
In all honesty, I'm not simply a patron to the hospital. My visits serve a dual purpose. Dr. Swansea has been treating my condition with a revolutionary technique of blood transfusion. It seems you are a specialist in the domain.
I'll take care of it. Do you know where I should start?
If that was the case, I'd settle the matter myself. You could talk to our local gossip, Harriet Jones. Not a pin drops here without her hearing about it.
I'll meet that woman now.
My life, as others know, is in your hands, Dr. Reed. I'm sure of your discretion, but I do fear your powers of persuasion will be put to the test. When this is resolved, I'll be your obligé. I'll answer all questions in regards of your condition.
And I thought last summer's epidemic was difficult.
What is this? Who are you? Get out of my room.
There's no need for alarm, madam. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon.
Preposterous. Dr. Reed, you say? I don't want some bumbling intern. Where's Dr. Swansea?
Please, calm down, madam. I assure you that I am highly qualified. I'm just back from war duty.
How brave. Threatening an old defenseless woman. You know how long I've been a patient here? You've picked the wrong fight. I'm Harriet Jones.
Harriet Jones? Indeed. I've been meaning to have a chat with you. You know what goes on here better than any other patient, I gather.
Oh, better than any patient, nurse or doctor. I've seen so many vile undertakings.
I heard there have been some despicable goings-on. Was there a case of blackmail?
Blackmail? Wait. You're investigating something. This isn't a social call. One of those incompetent cunts slit a poor sod's vein.
If I didn't know better, Miss Jones, I'd be inclined to say you enjoy this type of idle gossip.
God's honest truth, Doctor. It's just the way it is here. Most of these bitches would let you freeze to death before getting you a blanket.
You seem to know more about the goings-on here than anyone else. Beware, Miss Jones, in case suspicion should fall on you.
That's it. Blame the old and infirm. I see those little bitches' greedy little eyes. Just waiting for me to pop off, they are.
I assure you, madam, this is not an investigation into a possible medical error.
Debauchery, then? Nurses Crane, Hawkins, Brannigans, whores, all of them. They can't keep their legs shut. I've seen them scratching slutty sores.
Really? Well, if you have irrefutable proof, I'll not have the staff behaving in such a manner here.
This is your business, Doctor, not mine. But but I swear one of the nurses is cavorting with some man on hospital hours.
Thank you for your time, Miss Jones. You've given me something to go on. See you on the next round. Miss Jones, greetings. How do we feel?
Again? Waking a poor old woman in her sleep? There isn't a poor life needs saving somewhere?
Now, I need to ask you a few simple questions.
Well, if you really must.
If you could just tell me why you were admitted.
It's terrible, Doctor. What with a pain in my chest, coughing up blood, and I get awfully tired. Wouldn't be so bad if I hadn't lost my house and all.
I see.
No one comes to visit, you know. Not even my own flesh and blood.
Have you noticed any suspicious comings or goings?
It would be a great deal easier to make a list of things unsuspicious in this house of charlatans.
Everyone here is very capable. I have not seen any instances of unprofessionalism.
Thieves and murderers, the lot. People have gone missing here, you know. Poof, without a trace.
Come now, Miss Jones. Surely it's not that bad.
Have you no eyes? This hospital accepts all manner of souls, regardless of origin. The proper sick cannot heal. We're kept sickened by the refugees.
I'll come and visit you shortly. Good night, Miss Jones.
The patients and staff might know something. I'll start my investigation with them.
It's here again.
As for me, what a blundering idiot.
This hospital seems to be falling apart.
I'm all right.
But in the circumstances...
Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift.
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
No matter how you feel about her, Miss Jones deserves our help.
Who says I don't care for her? Hate is what keeps that old crone alive.
She could have been telling the truth about the mysterious man.
That old witch will end up in hell soon enough. Who cares if a nurse finds some happiness where she can?
What can you tell me about the strange man visiting one of the nurses during her shift?
Let me guess. You spoke with that old shrew, Harriet Jones. Do not pay attention to her, Doctor. She's full of fanciful tales.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins. Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Doc.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
It's here again.
I wonder why the Goswicks came here in the first place.
Disgust on every street corner. Daily routine.
Blaming me will not further your agenda, sir. How long is it going to take to fix me properly? A month?
A year? You have the right to disapprove of our methods, and you will kindly apologize when you're feeling better.
I'm all right.
This is no time for self-pity. It is the last thing our patients need.
Good evening, Nurse Brannigan.
Good evening, Doctor.
Have you seen a strange man visiting any of the nurses here?
I've never heard of such a thing, Doctor.
Do you know if any of the hospital staff have criminal backgrounds?
The people who work here all come from very different backgrounds, Doctor. Just like the patients.
Have you seen a...
I've never heard of...
Goodbye, nurse.
It's safer here than anywhere else.
Hey, Doc.
Have you heard of any underhand dealings going on in the hospital?
Blackmail? That's not my style. Too risky. The black market, though. Now that's where the money is.
I'll leave you.
Perhaps I should have considered the offer from that cat.
So many deaths. And what of my own life?
Damn. The pain.
This hospital seems to be falling apart. But in the circumstances, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Daily routine.
But the suffering continues.
Disgust on every corner. The daily routine.
Is this supposed to be an hospital? A pigsty would smell better. Hey, Doc.
I'll leave you for...
Don't worry, we're safe.
You're sure you don't come back with me?
Nah, I have to see someone at the hospital.
Be careful. You look so bad they may keep you as a patient.
Fuck 'em. I don't like hospitals or doctors.
Well then, when you go back to Whitechapel, you may find this useful.
What is it?
A pass for a free medical exam by the best nurse available. Just read it.
I don't read well, but thank you, I guess.